Every single ending explained video you've ever watched on the thing is wrong. Because I believe that John Carpenter specifically designed this movie as a puzzle to be unsolvable, right? There's like big theories out. There's a few main theories out there that talk about the ending, or who is the thing, and they think they've sort of cracked it. They think they've solved the puzzle on who is the thing and who isn't. And I'm basically going to go one by one, break down those theories, and say how they're all wrong. So the first one
All
is
right.
the eye glint theory, right? So there's a gleam in the eye, and so cinematographer Dean Cundy talked about how he would use something called a catch light, which is something used in film to add a little bit of a light to the eye, right? A little sparkle in the eye. And he was saying that is a way that they used on set to show who is human and who has already turned the thing, right? So in the end, in McCready's eye, if you look close, you see a glint in his eye. But when it turns towards Childs, there's no glint in his eye. Thus, according to that rule, Childs must have turned and is now the thing. Except that rule is not consistent. Palmer, when they're doing the blood test scene, when you look at Palmer's eye, he's tied up in the rope. You see a glint in his eye in one shot. You don't see a glint in his eye in the next shot, right? Let's be realistic. This was a low-budget movie in the 80s. I don't think they were that intentional. I think this is fan theories coming up with stuff. John Carpenter himself talked about this statement by Dean Cundy. He said he has no clue. Literally, he said, quote, he has no clue. I know who's the thing and who's not. So, boom, dispelled.
Well, I also heard it said that rule only applied to the blood test scene. Like it was specifically stated by one of those folks that the glint in the eye only applied to the blood test scene. And then when you get to see that Palmer does not have that glint in his eye, that's kind of one of your giveaways, but it was expressed that does not apply to the ending scene.
But at the beginning of the scene, Palmer does have the glint in his eye. So they're not even being consistent in that. I really think we're grasping at straws here, right? The next one, if we're going to really just focus on the end, the breath theory, right? So the breath theory says that Childs, you don't see his breath, but that when it goes to McCready, you do see his breath, right? Obviously, humans have to breathe. It's strange that Childs is not breathing. And so, obviously Childs is the thing. The reality is most of his theories came out in the 80s and 90s when this was on VHS, right? And the TV was this big and you couldn't see anything. I watched this movie on Blu-ray. You can see Childs' breath, right?
Yes, you can.
This was strictly just because it's hard to backlight air.
Yep.
And it even I watched some interviews with Kurt Russell, and one of the things he would do before long takes, he would get a cigarette and he would take long drags. And so that as he's talking, smoke is coming out and made it look extra cold. Right? So the only reason you can see his breath is because he's backlit and Child is angled in a way that he's not backlit. You can't see the smoke. They're both breathing. They're both human. Disbanded, not true. And so that takes us around to, I think, the new age big theory out there, the gasoline theory, right? So the gasoline theory says that at the very end, McCready hands Childs a bottle of whiskey and Childs takes a sip of it, except that it wasn't whiskey. It was one of the bottles that he used as a Molotov cocktail, right? So it's full of gasoline. Childs takes a sip. He doesn't spit it out. He responds all weird to it. Obviously, that's not true because, if he was a human, he would spit it out. He's got to be the thing. He doesn't realize it. A few things there. First off, it's not gasoline. It's kerosene. You see kerosene bottles all spread out all over the whole compound. So kerosene doesn't have the same strong smell as gasoline. I can't talk about the taste. I've never tasted it myself, but I can assume there's some sort of correlation. Beyond that, Childs comes in to this area after having been outside in what they call negative 100-degree temperature. So he is probably undergoing shock, probably, early stages of hypothermia. And Matt, I'm the doctor, you're the doctor, but I would imagine shock and hypothermia, meaning your senses and taste bud and smell are going to be a little off. Am I off on that?
You're not off. No, that makes sense. So your senses, your smell and your taste in particular are going to go kind of by the wayside if you're in hypothermia, pardon me.
Right.
The first stage of hypothermia, you're gonna shiver, your brain's all working as it's supposed to. When you get into stage 2, your brain gets all kinda glonky, you don't have normal mental
A little
status,
wonky.
your senses get a little awry, uh, and you don't shiver specifically. So,
Interesting.
which, you do not see child shivering,
Right.
in this scene. So,
Interesting.
very possible that at this stage, he's been out there for an hour,
So he's hypothermic.
so he should be shivering if he was in stage 1.
Right.
But he's at least stage 2.
Mm.
He's certainly not hypothermic if he's been out in negative 100 degrees,
Right.
you know,
Right.
for an hour.
Right.
People behave very strangely when they get to that point.
Right. So
So
I think the further down the rabbit hole you go, you can break down all the science of it. But the reality is that there's going to be arguments on both sides, and they're both convincing, right? And so, like, I think if is Mac the thing, or is Childs the thing, or are they both the thing, or are neither of them the thing, right? And so I think whatever theory you land on, you're missing the point, right? Because I can say pretty definitively who the thing is. The thing is John Carpenter, right? John Carpenter intentionally, he left the eye glints in there. He left the missing breath and the gasoline theory, and he has gone out and spoken, all kinds of things that confuse you one way or the other. Because the real terror of the monster, of the thing, is not just the head and the webs and the spider. It's the distrust. It's the paranoia, and John
right.
Carpenter's playing into that. I mean, he's literally been quoted. Obviously, I said the one about Dean Cundey. He said, "Be careful when you say the little light in the eyes, because that can be a trick, but I'm not telling you." That's what he was quoted saying. He also said, "I know who the thing is, and I'm never going to say," right? Later on, he said, "I don't know. I don't know who's the thing. I don't think anybody knows. It's about the end of the world. It's not about who's the thing." I think John Carpenter is acting like the thing, and he's doing anything he can to knock us off the scent of what truth is. Because if the movie ends at a period, we go home and we go to sleep and we're satisfied, right? But if it ends on a ... and a comma, it bothers us, right?
Mhm.
That's what something is about that tugs you on this movie. And so when you look at the thing, the sole intent of the thing is survival. And with this movie, as long as we're still arguing about the infection and the theory and the gasoline theory, that's why this movie is alive 45 years later. So the thing didn't die in 1982. It's still out there frozen in the snow, waiting for the next generation to come along, find this movie, and try to solve who they believe is the thing. But
I
they're
love
all
that.
wrong.
'Cause it's John Carpenter.
John Carpenter. And honestly, he kind of looks like the thing. If you look at him, like, depending on which thing it is.
Right, I mean, the thing doesn't even look like the thing,
I just mean, like, I think, like, the long head thing, he kind of looks like
Yeah.
that in real life.
I'm pretty sure I saw him split his head open and eat somebody once.
Anybody who actually correctly gets the theory, that's what he does.
That's what happens to him.